This deck is 20 years old. This deck is 20 days old. We built them both. This one's got about 10 years left. This one, 50, easy. So how many years does your deck have left? After 35 years, I know exactly what to look for, and after watching this video, you will too. Whether your deck has decades left or only a couple of summers. If you look at this decking here, this is 20-year-old composite decking. There's no capstock on it. It's just plastic and wood fiber mixed together and a failure rate that was quite high, but you can see it's just crumbling in my fingers. This deck is getting close to reaching its lifespan. I'm gonna say this decking may last another 5 years if I'm lucky. 25 years from buying decking 20 years ago? I'd say I'm doing all right. Let's just say we use the least expensive cedar I could find. It's gonna last 7 to 14 years, depending on how you maintain it. So if you don't maintain it at all and never put any kind of a treatment or sealer on it, you could expect it to last at least 7 years. But if you actually put a wood sealer on it twice a year, you could probably double that longevity or maybe even longer. Composite decks had one, in my opinion, terminal flaws, which for the time 20 years ago, they were great. But you could build them and butt everything tight together, and then over the years, this would happen. This is called contraction. There's nothing I can do except replace this board. Now, obviously, I can't just go to the lumberyard and buy this because they don't make this anymore. But you can see everywhere that I had a butt joint, even if it was a 6 or 8 inch piece, there's a huge gap here. You can see that there's a piece of the decking that when this contracted, the screws are going in like this, it actually pulled the composite apart. That is what happens to composite in certain circumstances. In the heat, and it's summer right now where we are, but this is not gonna fill in this gap. This gap is here forever. So contraction is a real thing and it needs to be thought about. And technology has led us to this. This is TimberTech Advanced PVC decking. It has a 50-year warranty. It's gonna last a really long time and it's gonna look the same year after year after year. No crumbling, no swelling, no expanded gaps over the winter time when it rains really hard on it. It's just gonna expand and contract a little bit in the heat, but mostly what we're concerned about is the contraction. We build certain ways so that we minimize that, and this deck is gonna last a really long time because it's the most current product on the market and the best value for your dollar. So right here, you can see where we have a seam board and decking coming together, and this is where all the contraction's gonna happen on the deck. We're not gonna really see it get any tighter, we're only gonna see it shrink. That's why I like PVC better than composite. 20 years ago, the standard was pressure-treated hemlock. This deck is framed out of pressure-treated hemlock. It's what's available in my space. This one's built 16 inches on center. It's framed up. We did use end grain solution on it, and we have standard 4x8 beams, 2x8 joists, and you can just see that it's standard. We screwed the decking right to the joist. No joist protection or anything like that. They didn't have it back then. This is what was available and this is what we built out of. To be honest, there's some moss and mildew and buildup on it, but it's still in really good shape. I don't see any soft spots. Back in the day, this was a better treated grade of framing 20 years ago than it is nowadays. I bet you I've got another 20 years in the frame in this section of the deck. Even though there are some things on this deck I wouldn't do today, if this wasn't built properly or if maybe they used inferior product, this deck probably would need to be replaced soon. So you could expect maybe 20 years, 25 years out of this deck, depending on how it's framed. With modern materials, we're building decks with man-made joists instead of wood joists that they cut out of a tree. They're actually laminating, gluing, and treating these boards so that they don't warp. They are all the same height. They don't shrink when the summer comes and it leaches all the moisture out of the material because of the engineering that's involved in these longer span products. One thing that can take a deck out faster than anything else is if you have wood to earth contact. So on our deck, we actually brought everything way above grade so that there's no pressure treated lumber sitting in the dirt These are pre-made footing blocks. I used them 20 years ago. Normally I would pour concrete, but because we were building quickly and around this above ground pool, we just used footing blocks instead. But besides some moss and mildew, which can be cleaned, it's really not doing too bad. It's holding up, and there's no rot, there's no softness to the edge of the post. Everything looks good. I'd give these footing blocks another 10 plus years the way they're sitting. But you know, the life expectancy of a footing block from Home Depot, you know, I wouldn't give it more than 20 years. So I think we're actually making money right now. If I just finished installing this today and I stuck the wood right in the dirt, I could expect to start replacing those parts in 7 years. So on this deck, we wanted to make sure that there was no earth to wood contact anywhere on this deck, because that can create rot and decay and make your deck not last as long. So we had to dig it down and clear it so that there's at least 1 inch of clearance. I can get my hand under here completely. And then sometimes we'll put a cap. This is more of a beauty cap, but it also protects the end of this beam. This is a structural fiberglass post that we can use. We can bury this in the ground, in concrete. It's hollow, but it's structural because of the webbing that's inside of this post. But we were able to bury these right into the ground and bring concrete right up around them. The longevity of this post, it's warranted for 50 years, but it'll last much longer than that because it's never gonna decay. So when I built this deck 20 years ago, joist tape wasn't even a thing. It wasn't invented yet. They had Vicor, I think, but it wasn't used in this capacity. So I didn't protect the framing. And you can see right here, this is the first place. If you've ever torn out a rotten deck, this is the first place that a deck will rot, is either from the screws that are going into the joist, or in between where the deck boards sit and all this sediment just collects. This gets wet, it stays wet, and eventually it starts to fester and rot the board, even if it's pressure treated. That's one thing, and you can kind of see like the treatment is removed every 5.5 inches because it's starting to decay. On the side of the joist, see these dark black lines? That's from water just continually coming in and draining down. Now this is a minimal effect compared to some of the decks that I tear out every single month on jobs. Another thing, you have a joist sistered to another joist with no joist protection right here, and eventually this is a point of decay. So joist tape is definitely something. If I would have used joist tape on these joists would probably last another 10 years at least compared to how they're doing right now. Since I didn't use joist tape, and if this area wasn't covered, this deck may last another 5 years, maybe 10 if I'm lucky, but by then it'll definitely need to be replaced. If I installed a wood deck today, I think I could get at least 20 years out of the frame like I did on this deck. So this right here will help your deck last 10 plus more years. This is called waterproof membrane tape, also known as joist tape. This particular brand is called G tape, and it's a peel and stick membrane tape. And what we use it for is we'll put it right on top of the joist. So this helps you by protecting the top of the joist. And we can actually sneak it up the wall and put it over the top of the joist like this so that water doesn't compromise that connection right there. Joist tape is a really awesome way, in my opinion, to keep things from decaying. So let's talk a little bit about flashing. Flashing for my deck is not really necessary. I didn't compromise the side of the house with a lot of fasteners. I'm not relying on the house for any kind of structure, which is rare. The siding looks like it's in really good shape. Because this deck is covered, this deck would last another 15 to 20 years, easy. If I had built this deck and it was exposed to the elements and I cut into the side of the house and I didn't use any flashing, within 10 years, you would have rot problems on your home, and probably worse than that. It would have infiltrated into the house. You would have to start tearing things apart. Don't do that. Spend the $50. It's like $7 a stick. It's not gonna cost you much for 10 feet of flashing to make that great connection and have a waterproof space for it. Regardless of the size of the deck or how expensive or how inexpensive it is, we always make sure to do this, flash the deck properly. We also have flashing for the deck detail, which you cannot see, but you can see this. This is called Z-metal. It goes up the back of the wall, so any rainwater, water that comes in, there's a gap right here. It's intentional so that the water doesn't sit and pool and get the siding wet and rot it. And this is a piece of PVC, so this is not gonna ever rot or decay. I've seen houses rot away 3 stories because of bad flashing techniques or no flashing techniques. $50 worth of flashing can save you $5,000 or even more later over the years, depending on the type of exposure you have. If you have good eaves on the house, may not be a problem. It just kind of depends on the situation, but we always flash our decks properly. All right, YouTube, I'm gonna tear my deck apart for you guys. I've got some old rusty screws and I'm gonna try to pull one because I wanna see it. These are carbon screws. These are not stainless steel. Pretty sure that broke. Try again over here. Oh yes, okay. All right, if you look at this screw, the part that was in the composite is okay, but the part that's in the treated lumber, it is decayed. That's from the copper chromium arsenate that was in the treated lumber. So it's corroding the fasteners. So over 20 years, there is only a few years left of life in this screw. You can see it right here. All these screws have started to rust. That's why I use stainless steel screws now. They're actually failing more than the decking is. Some of you are gonna say, oh, doctor, you used an impact driver, shame on you. No wonder it didn't come out right. Okay, see what happened? Even with this kind of drill, this screw snapped. All the screws are doing that on this entire 2,500 square feet of deck. And this is a case study, right? Because we're sitting right here in the proof. These screws are at the end of their lifespan, so I would give them another 5 years max. I wish I would have used these 20 years ago when I built my deck because they're stainless steel. They have a color matched head and they would have lasted a lot longer than the screws that I have in my deck currently. I use these Fasten Master, these are called Top Lock, and these are a Cortex screw. Even though they have a colored head, we can drive them below the subsurface and then we put these little matching corks in the surface of the decking to make it disappear, so it's a seamless top. The best way to attach a deck nowadays, in my opinion, is to face screw it, use a hidden fastener, use stainless steel, and that's gonna last the longest of all ways to fasten down a deck. And I know these screws are gonna last 50 plus years, and I'm never gonna have to worry about them rusting, corroding, or snapping. There's my number. This deck's got about 10 good summers left, and I'll take that. This one, ask me in 2076. But the number that matters is yours. You've been keeping score, so put it in the comments. Be honest, no partial credit, and if it scared you, most of those years you can buy back once you see a deck how a pro does.